Okay, a good Erev Shabbos, everyone. A very interesting daf this evening. Don't be scared by the largeness of the daf. There's a lot of agarata, and it's not scary. We've had a lot harder in this Masechta. We're sponsored by A.B. Spry, who is dedicating this Masechta for Shalema for Teiba Reise Bas Hinda and for great Zivugim for their daughter and grandchildren, and by Shelley Zeitlin for Shimon ben Sar Miriam, Shmei ben Esther Fadl, and for the schus of his wonderful children, Eli, Orit, and Ora. We are also sponsored anonymously for the spiritual, emotional, and physical protection for Yeshua Menachem Mendel, Ben Bela, Shendel, Rivka. Just to make a note, for those that need the scheduling, after the shir tonight, we will have a wonderful for the Shabbos table. I say that with all modesty, but I really had a siyata d'shmaya preparing it today. I'm very satisfied with it. Of course, if you're here in Fairways, you will hear a lot of it on Shabbos, so you don't have to stay. But if you're not here in Fairways and you could spare the time, you really should do so. Okay, we're holding about a new Mishnah, 4 lines from the top of Lamed He Amud Aleph, and the Mishnah tells us, Mashbi'a ani aleichem, if I say to Yitz and Menachem that I put you to an oath, im lo savos iduni, if you don't come and testify, sha'amar ish pleini litein mi masayim zuz, that Marshall said he would give me $200. Malay Nazan, and he didn't give it to me. Now, if they swear that they don't know testimony, and they really do, Harielu Peturim, they're potter, because they're only chai v'shvus eidus in a case where, with their testimony, Marshall would be chai to give me the money. But if they just swear that Marshall told me that he's going to give me 200 zuz, he could renege on his promise. He's not a nice guy. It's not so ethical, but he could renege on his promise. So there would be no his chayvus, and therefore that's not a case of Shavuos Daf. That's the first chiddush of the Mishnah. The second chiddush is, Mashbi'ani aleichem, I put you to oath, Yitzi and Menachem, kisheteidu li'edus, that when you know testimony about Marshall, shetavo u'siduni, that you will come and testify for me. Right? So, and they swear that they know nothing. So Harielu Peturim, they're exempt, because they shekod meshvuas la'edus, even though later on they did know testimony and they didn't come and testify, but I imposed the oath before they knew. So that's a shvur that comes before they knew about it. And a shvur that comes before they knew about it is not binding. Another case. I get up in shul. Now, I say that anyone in this shul that knows testimony about Marshall owing me money, right? Mashbi'ani aleichem, if anybody knows, she'imat tem yodin li edus, that if you know for me testimony, shetavo usiduni. But I don't designate 2 people. I just say, if anybody here knows, Harielu Peturim, ad she'im eschaben lahem, until I say Yitzi and Menachem. Another halacha. Amar l'shnayim, I say to Yitzi and Menachem, Mashbi'ani aleichem ish ploini u'paloini, shim'atem yoidim li'edus, if you know testimony about Marshall, and sure they swear she'ein onu yoidin lecha edus. They don't know. But the Maisa is, they only knew testimony, hearsay. Menachem and Yitzi heard it from Barry. So it's only hearsay. Or one of them is a gambler. Or one of them is a relative. In such a case, they're not chayiv. Because they wouldn't have been able to take money away from Marshall even if they gave testimony. Because testimony by hearsay is worthless. Right? Testimony by hearsay is worthless, or testimony by one who is a relative or a gambler is worthless. The Haim Yodim Eidas only aid mepi aid, or Yishayachim Karv apostle, or one of them was a relative or a gambler. So anyway, that I wouldn't have been able to take money from Marshall. Hariel Pturin. The final case is where I send to Yitz and Menachem a request to give testimony. I'm the claimant, but Sholch B'Yad Avdai, I send it by means of my servant. Now, my servant can't be a good agent. Or Oisha Amalem Anitpa, or Marshall says, it's a rare occasion where Marshall wants to be lily white. You know, it's a rare occasion. It had nothing to do with business. Yeah, so he wants to be lily white. And he tells Yitzhak Menachem, look, if you know something about it, I put you an oath to swear and tell the truth. Or the one that's the defendant says, that if you know testimony, you should come and testify. And they deny, Hariela Pturin, that's not a case of Shavuos Daf, actually Yishmu Toiveya, until you hear it from the claimant, from me. So now the Gemara, we had over here 5 cases. So now the Gemara is going to go through all 5 cases. Delicious treat. Tan Rabbanan. Mashpia Ali Aleichem, this is the first case. I put you to the oath. Imlo Savo Siduni, if you don't come, Yitz and Menachem, and testify, Sha'amar Ish Ploini Litin Li Masayim Zuz, that Marshall said he would give me 200, V'loi Nasa. Yachal Yu Chayavim, I might think that if they deny it, they're chayiv. Talmud Leimer secheta l'gzeir. It says secheta by Shavuos Daf. It says secheta by Pikadon. Nemakan secheta lama lahalan. It says by deposit secheta. Ma lahalan betvias mammon. Just over there, it's a monetary claim. The yeshloi, and it's a valid monetary claim. Right? If Shelley has my talis, that's a valid monetary claim. Afkan betvias manman, it's a monetary claim. V'yeshli, it's a valid monetary claim. But the fact that Marshall says that he's going to give me $200, I can't exact it from him. He could renege on what he said. Yeah, I said it, I changed my mind. Or as the Gemara says many times, Mishatani Bach, I was just joshing with you. Don't worry, he has enough lines in Chicago to sink a battleship.
That and bourbon.
Now, the second case of the Mishpah, Mashbi'a Ani Aleichem, I put you to testimony, Kisheteidu Li'edis, when you find out about it. I impose you an oath that when you find out about it, you're going to come and testify. Tan Rabbanan, how do we know this? How do we know that you can't make a shvua ahead? Says the Gemara, Mashpia ani aleichem, I put you an oath, kisheteidu li edus, that when you know for me testimony, shetavo siduni, yakol yu chayav, and I might think that if they then do know, and they don't give testimony, they're breaking their oath, and they're chayav. Talmud Leima v'shama kel Allah, he heard the voice of the oath, V'hu aid ora o yada, and he was already a witness or he saw, which is in the past tense, or he knew. So the event had to come before the Shvuah. Misha Kadma Eidos l'Shvuah. The testimony had to come before the oath, and not that the oath comes before the testimony. Okay, now, next case, third case in the Mishnah. I get up in shul, and I say, Mashbiani aleichem, I impose upon you, says the Gemara, and that's true even if Yitz and Menachem are in the shul. Ameshmul va'afilu eidav beineim. Says the Gemara, well, pshita, if they're not there, then what's the chiddush? Says the Gemara, leitzricha de koyel vayu. Even if Yitz and Menachem was standing right next to me, Mao the same commander Amalu Dami, it's like I said it directly to them. Kamash Malon. I didn't say that. I said, is there anyone here? So I didn't exclusively point them out. Tanya Nami Haki, Ra Siya Shel Bnei Adam Oimdim. If I see a group of people, the Eid of Beineim and Yitz and Menachem are amongst them. V'amalem mashbi'ani aleichem, I put you to an oath. Im atem yoidin li edus, if you know for me edus, shetavo siduni, that you should come and testify for me. Yochel you chayovin, I might think that they're chayiv. Talmud leimer v'hu eid, and he is the witness. V'hari lo yichad edam, he didn't designate the witnesses. However, the Gemara will say a chiddush that if I say everyone in the shul, Yochel afilu amar koloim din kan, everybody in the shul, Talmud leimer v'hu eid, they're very yachid edim. Since I said everyone, I was miyachid the edim. Now, I could already greet people, so we greet in the Saba, and I think that's Mo Kushner, Dr. Guy, Irving Fishbaum, Yaakov Warman, Dr. Black, Nachum Umansky, Shelley Zeitlin, Marshall Castle. It's good to have you, Marshall. The Shimon Klein, Barry Cement, Ben Cian Kain, Yitzi Fuchs, Eddie Chazan in the getaway car, Rabbi Kranz, Jack Silverman. Jack, it's good to have you. Nachman Chapler, Daniel Rosenberg, Stephen Holtzman, Abe Arbach, Ilya Schutman, Yitzi Mahler, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, David Helfgott on Kol Lush. And here in Shul, we're very rich with Barish Kesselman and Gedalia Engel, Chaim Kramer, Michal Avram Chavin and Ruvain Shanet. Reb Kaniel is just joining us for our 26th Zoomer of the evening. Yud K Vav K, missing a lot of people. Got to get out the truancy people. Says the Gemara, Amar Lishnayim, Mashbi'ani Aleichem. This was the next case. He said to two people, I put you to an oath, but Menachem and Yitzi only heard it from someone else. And testimony of hearsay is not good. And or one of them was a relative, or one of them was a gambler, so they wouldn't be able to memaitzi mammon. Tan Rabbanan, so the Gemara brings a proof to this. Tan Rabbanan amal ishnayim, mashbi'ani aleichem, I put you to the oath, pliny. Im atem yoidim li'edus, if you know testimony shetavo sidun, you come and you'll testify. Vehem yoidim li'edus, but Yitziyem and Menachem only know testimony eid mepi eid. By hearsay, they heard it from Barry. Or one of them was a relative, or a gambler, or a thief. So in such a case, I might think they're Richai, which will say this as we welcome in Danny Vogel. Says the Gemara Talmud Leimer Imlo Yagid. If they do not tell, V'nosa Avainai, they will bear their sin. But that's only that's only if they're able to tell, if they were worthy witnesses. But if they weren't, because they only heard it by hearsay, or one of them was a Karva apostle, so the whole parasha of Shavuos Ha'edus doesn't apply. And finally, the last case is, remember that the only time they were going to chayiv from Shavuos Ha'edus if they heard it from the claimant himself. Shalach b'yad avdai, ton rabbanan. Shalach b'yad avdai. Oy she'amalem hanitfa, or Marshall was stricken with a rare righteous conscience, and he said, "Listen, if I owe Rabbi Weiss money, I impose an oath on you. If they don't tell, now, how do you learn out from that? My Talmud. So if you look at the spelling of loy, this is what we just learned tonight. Ma'aseiris siag la'Torah. If you look at the loy, it's lamed vav aleph. So it's im loy lo yagid. If to him lamed vav lo yagid. No, it's to the claimant. Im loy yagid ksiv. Im loy lo yagid. If they don't tell to the claimant v'nasa avayne, v'im la'akal lo yagid, but to a servant or to the defendant, potter. Now, says the Mishnah, as we chug along over here, Mashbiani aleichem, if I say to Yitzim Menachem, I put you to an oath, Mitzavani aleichem, I command you, Oisrachem ani, I bind you, Harielu chayavim. Now we're going to see that by a shvuah, you have to use Hashem's name. So we're going to have to add over here that it's with the name of Hashem. So the Gemara will talk about it. But if he says, Bashamayim va'aretz, by heaven and earth, Harielu P'turin, because that's not an oath by Hashem. Ba'alef Dalid, however, if he uses Aleph Dalid Nun Yud, or B'Yud Hey, or uses the name of Hashem spelled Yud Hey, now, the Taisus Rashi say it means the Yud Kei Vav Kei. The Bishakai or B'Tzvakais, B'Chanun, by the one who's gracious, V'Rachem, merciful, B'Rachapayim, long-suffering, B'Rav Kesed, abundant kindness, B'Chol HaKinuyin, or any of the substitute names of Hashem, Harielu Chayavim. Now, just like by a shvuah, you have to use Hashem's name. So if one commits blasphemy, Hamakalel B'Kulan Chayiv, using any of the substitutes, he's Chayiv. Divrei Rameir, that's the opinion of Rameir. The Chacham Paitin, the Chacham say if you curse using a substitute, you're not Chayiv. If a person curses his father or mother with any of the substitutes, he's chayiv. Again, the Chacham holds that he's only executed if he uses the ineffable name. If one curses himself or his friend with any of the substitutes, he's over with a loisase. There's a loisase that you should loisakalal. We learn it out. It says like Sikal Nasei, and it says like Sikal Cheresh. So we learn out that you can't, it's a lav to curse people. Yakicha Hashem Elikim, if he says, Hashem, our God, should strike you if you don't give testimony. Or, V'chein Yakichem Elikim, you should be stricken by God. Zui olak suva b'Torah. This is the curse that it says in the Torah, where by Shavuos Ha'edus, and he would be chai. Now, what about if he says the negative, and we're supposed to deduce the positive? He says you shouldn't be smitten, or you should be blessed, or it should be good for you if you say testimony, implying, but you should be smitten, you should be cursed. It'll be bad for you if you don't say testimony. Rameh Mechayim. Rameh says we say Mechlal Hey not to Shemei Alav. From the positive, you could imply the negative. The Chachamim Paitrin. The Chachamim say that the pasuk says that you have to hear the Shama Kurl Allah. You have to openly hear the curse and not an inference. So now the Gemara goes into the details over here. Vashbiani Aleichem, I put you to an oath. Now the Gemara asks, my Kamar, since we said a Shvuah needs the name of Hashem, he just couldn't have said, I put you to an oath. Amr Yehuda Hachi Kamar, Mashbiani Aleichem, I put you to an oath, Bashvuah Amur B'Torah, referring to the Shvuah that it says in the Torah, which has Hashem's name. Mitzav Ani Aleichem, Mitzavo Amur B'Torah. Or I bind you be'isr amr b'Torah. Says the Gemara, Amalei Abai Alahad Tani Reb Chia. Kovelchem ani, I chain you. Harielu chayavim. It doesn't say chain in the Torah. Kovel be'araisa miksiv. It doesn't say chaining in the Torah. El amr b'Hachi Kamer. Mashbi ani aleichem b'shvuah. I put you to an oath. And you say, when it says over here, B'Shvuah, Rashi says that he mentions Hashem's name. Right? That's what Rashi learns, B'Shvuah. If he uses Hashem's name with any of these terms, and he uses Hashem's name. Mitzav ani aleichem, I instruct you b'shvuah, and he uses Hashem's name. Or sarchem ani b'shvuah, I bind you with a shvuah, and he uses Hashem's name. Kovelchem ani b'shvuah, I chain you with a shvuah, and he uses Hashem's name. He's chayiv. B'alef Dalet, saying Adonai, or Yud Kei Vav Kei, b'shakai, b'tzvakos, b'chanim v'rachim, v'erachapayim, v'rav chesed. So the Gemara says, you mean to say that these substitutes, Chanun, the gracious one, the merciful one, long-suffering, abundant kindness, are names of Hashem? L'meima, the Chanun v'rachim shemis nenu? But we learned not that way. We learned that you're allowed to erase these names. Raminu, Yeshem Hashem Nimchakim, there are names that can be erased. V'Yeshem Hashem Nimchakim, and then there are names that can't be erased. Elu ein Shem Hashem Nimchakim, the following can't be erased. Kegain Keil Elokecha, Elokim, Elokechem, Eka Asher Eka, Aleph Dalid, Yud Kei, Shakai, Savakai, Sarielu ein Nimchakim, Avol, Hagibar, Agadol, the great one, Hagibar, the mighty one, Hanoir, the awesome one, Adir, the powerful one, Hachazak, the strong one, Haamitz, the courageous one, Ha'ozuz, the mighty one, Berachim, the merciful one, Erech Apayim, Rav Chesed, the gracious one, long-suffering and abundant of kindness, Hariel and Nimchakim. So you see that they're not the names of Hashem. So how come over here does it say that they are names of Hashem? So Amar Abaya says, when he swears, Masnisin b'mishu chanun. It's understood that he swears to the one who is gracious. B'mishu racham kamer, to the one that is merciful. Amalei Rava, so Rava says, so then why, if you swear by Shemayim and Ba'aretz, is it not good? Why don't we say it's to the one who the heaven and earth is his? So the Gemara says, no. There you can't mistake it. Racham and Chanim, who are you talking about? You're talking about Hashem. Shemayim and Aretz, you might be talking about heaven and earth. There's nothing else that's called merciful and gracious. Vadai b'mishu chanan, vadai b'mishu rachim kamer. It means one who is gracious, one who is merciful. There is heaven and earth, but Shemayim v'aretz kamer. He's talking about heaven and earth. Tan Rabbanon, Kosiv Aleph Lamed me Elikim. If he wrote Aleph Lamed from Elikim, or Yud Hey mi Yud Kei Vav Kei, he already can't erase it because it's already Kel is the name of Hashem and Ka is the name of Hashem. Harizeh in a Nimcha. But Shin Dalid Mishakai, that only spells shade. Aleph Dalid me, Aleph Dalid Nan Yud, that only spells aid or mist. Tzadi Beis Mitzvakais, if he only wrote Tzadik Beis from Tzvakais, that's a toad. Harizeh nimchak. That could be erased. Rabbi Yossi Aimet Tzvakos kuloi nimchak. The word tzva'os could be erased because tzva'os Hashem is referring to Klal Yisrael. Shaloi nikrat tzva'os ela al shem Yisrael. It's Klal Yisrael. Shenema v'yitzeisi et tzvosai. I will take my hosts as Ami b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. So he says that's why it always says Hashem's name with tzvakos, Elokei tzvakos, because tzvakos is Klal Yisrael. However, Amar Shmuel ain't halacha to Rabbi Yossi. The law is not like Rabbi Yossi. You cannot erase tzvakos. Tan Rabbanan. Kol atofel l'shem. Whatever is attached to Hashem's name, bein milafanav, either a prefix, or bein milacharav, or a suffix, harizeh nimchak. That could be erased. Lafanav ketzad. La Hashem, lamed nimchak. The lamed could be erased. Ba Hashem, the base could be nimchak. The Hashem, the vav could be nimchak. Me Hashem, mem nimchak. She Hashem, the shin could be nimchak. Ha Hashem, the hey nimchak. Ka Hashem, the chav could be nimchak. All prefixes could be erased. La'acharav kesad, what's a suffix? Elokeinu, the nun vav nimchak could be erased. Elokeihem, the hey mem could be nimchak. Elokeihem, the chav mem could be nimchak. Acherim, I mean, no. A suffix can't be nimchak, because since it follows the name of Hashem, the name of Hashem is already mekadosh. La'acharav eina nimchak, shekfar kitchu Hashem, and Amar Avuna halacha k'acherim. The law is like acherim. Kol shem l'shamurim b'Torah. Well, it's good to have you, Gedalia. You could get stuck on a piece of bubble gum, by the way. It's okay. I put out bubble gum just in case. Take your Gemara with you in case you get stuck. Now, Kol Shem Samur B'Torah, all the names of Hashem that are said in the Torah, here now we have a fascinating piece of Agarata. Fascinating. Wherever it says a name of Hashem like Adonai by Avram, Kodesh, Chutz Mezeh, Shucha, except for this one, where he was addressing the three disguised Arabs, Shucha, Shenemar, Adonai, my Lord. He was talking to the lead guest, the lead Arab. If I find favor in your eyes, I'll now savor me alavdecha. Don't leave. So that is not holy, because that was talking to the Arab. Chanina ben Achi, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Mishum Rabbi Elazar, Amadaya Amru, Av Zeh Kodesh. This is also holy, because remember, God came, Hashem came to visit him. He was in the third day of his circumcision, and Hashem came to be Mevakar Chayla. And then the Arabs came. They were angels, but they looked like Arabs. So he put God on pause. So he said, Adonai, God, if I find favor in your eyes, please don't leave while I take care of the guests. So that's also, he was talking to Hashem. So they said, Av Zeh Kodesh. Kaman also Adam Rabbi Yehuda Rav Gedol Achnas Zochim Yosim Bolas Pnei Shechina, that greeting guests is better than spending time with the Shechina. Kaman Kois Hazog, like this pair, because you see, he put God on pause, on hold, to take care of the guests. So you see that taking care of guests is even better than spending time with the Shechina. Kol Shemosh Amur Belait, all names that are said by Lot Chel are mundane, Chutz Mezeshu Kodesh, except for one, Shenemar Vayomer Loit Aleihem, Al No Adonai, please not, my Lord, Hine No Motze Avdecha Chein Beinecha, my your servant found favor in your eyes. So he said, "Vatigdol chastcha asher asiso imadi lahacha yoises nafshi." You saved my life. So here, the Gemara says he's talking to Hashem. And he says, I can't escape to the mountains. Rather, spare the city of Tzoyer. So here he's talking to God. Well, how do we know that? Because he said, you spared my life. The one who has the power to either put to death or to bring to life. Now, the dreadful situation of Novos, where he was put to death because he didn't want to give up his vineyard, was a terrible thing. And wicked Ezevel concocted a story that he cursed the king and Hashem. This was a terrible plot that the king and Ezevel, Achav and Ezevel, his wife, perpetrated against Novos. This was one of the horrifying stories in Tanakh. Kol Shemois Amurim B'Novos, all the names of Hashem that it says by the sad victim Novos, Kodesh, are holy. But Micha, the names that are said by Micha, Chel, are mundane, are idolatrous. Rabbi Lazar Aimer B'Novos Kodesh, B'Micha, by Micha Yesh Mehem Chel, some are idolatrous, v'yesh mehem kodesh. Aleph Lamed Chel, Adonai is secular. Yud Hey, those of Yud Kei Vav Kei are kodesh. Chutz mizeh she'Aleph Lamed v'hu kodesh. Except for one case where Micha said Aleph Lamed Daled Nun Yud, and it's also holy. Kol Yomai Hayois Beis Elikim, Kol Yomai Hayois Beis Elikim B'Shila, where it says that he said to Aleph Daled Nun Yud all the days when the Beis Elikim was in Shiloh, that is holy. Kol Shemas Hamurim Begivas Binyamin. This is also a terrible situation with Pelegish Begiva. The concubine, someone living in Binyamin, had a concubine, and she was raped and killed. And the Shvatim demanded the perpetrators to be executed, and Binyamin didn't turn over the perpetrators. And this caused a civil war where Klal Yisrael attacked Shevet Binyamin. The first two times Shevet Binyamin rebuffed Klal Yisrael. The third time they almost totally annihilated Shevet Binyamin. So says the Gemara, Kol Shemes Ha'amurim Begivas Binyamin, Rebbe Eliezer Aimer Chayil. Rebbe Eliezer says that they sought idolatrous advice, and it wasn't advice from Hashem. And Rabbi Yeshua Aimer Kodesh. Rabbi Yeshua says that they were holy. Amalei Rabbi Eliezer, if they asked Hashem, V'chi mafteach ve'ena oisa, would Hashem promise and not deliver? Amalei Rabbi Yeshua, ma shevtiach osa. When he was asked properly, Hashem did deliver. However, the first two times, v'heim lo bichanu im l'natzeach, they didn't ask whether they would be conquered or conquer. They only asked to go. But ba'achroina shebichanu, the last time, the third time, when they asked what would be their fate, hiskimu al yadim, Hashem told them they would succeed. What did they ask the third time? Shenema Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron oimer lefana b'yamim ha'im, stood before them at that time. Leimer ha'osif oid latzeis lamelchama im bnei binyamin ochi im echtel. Should I go or should I cease? In other words, that would mean, should I go because we'll succeed, or shall I cease because we'll be defeated? So there Hashem said you should go. Now, Kol Shloimei ha'amurin b'shir hashirim kodesh. When it says Shloimei, even though Shlomo HaMelech wrote Shir Hashirim, when it says Shloimei, it means not Shlomo HaMelech, but Melech Sha'ashalom Shaloi. King, the king, who peace is determined by him. L'mi Sha'ashalom Shaloi. The one who is in charge of peace, Chutz Mizeh, except for the following pasuk. Karmi Shali Lefanai, my vineyard is before me. My vineyard before me. Ha'elef lecha shleima, 1,000 soldiers to you shleima. That shleima lididei, which refers to Shlomo himself. Umasayim l'noitrim esperioi, and 200 for those that guard the fruit, which is interpreted to mean that Shlomo HaMelech is being told by Hashem that for every 1,000 soldiers that you send to battle, you should have 200 people learning. Huh?
Where's the Messiah come from?
The pasuk says, "Messiahim l'noitrin esperia." V'yeshaimim av zechel. This pasuk is also secular. He named Mitasei shel Shlomo shishim gibayim savavla. That the bed of Shlomo had 60 soldiers around it, because Shlomo Melech was afraid of the demon Ashmedai. Says the Gemara, Afzeh, the second opinion is that even this pasuk, v'loy miboyhach, and for sure the first pasuk is secular. Elahadam Shmuel, Malchusa de Kotla Chad Meshita Ba'alma Loy Me Ansha, a government that has a army 1/6 will not be punished. And Shenemar, Karmi Shali Lefanai, I have my vineyard, Klal Yisrael, Ha'elef Lecha Shloimei, 1,000 has to be for Hashem. L'malchusa d'rikia, l'shmel shasham shalai. You have to have 1,000 learning, or Masayim l'noitrin esperiod. And then you could have 200 going to war. So out of 1,200, you could have 1/6 going to war. 200 is 1/6 of 1,200. L'malchusa d'ara. Says the Gemara, but if both hold that the first pasuk is secular, then Shmuel, who learns that the Shloimei in this is Hashem, loy ketanakama v'loy ki yeshaimim, he would not be going like the Tanakama or the Yeshaimim. Elahachi kamer, v'yeshaimim zeh kodesh, the pasuk of the Karmi shel Shlomo, that is holy. V'zeu chel the mitasa, in the pasuk of mitasa shel Shlomo, that is mundane. Ushmuel namaki yeshaimim. Shmuel therefore would say like the Yeshaimim. Kol malchaya ha'amurim b'Daniel chel. Daniel is difficult. It's written in Aramaic. Whenever it says king in Daniel, it's referring to Nebuchadnezzar. Chutz mizeh shu kodesh, except for the following pasuk, where it says Melech Malchaya, and it refers to the King of Kings, Hashem. Ant Malka, you Nebuchadnezzar, Melech Malchaya, the King of Kings, Leishmaya, who's the God of heaven. Malchusa Chisna v'Tokfa v'Yakara Yahavlach. He gave you a mighty, powerful, and honorable empire. V'Yeshaimim, there's another pasuk in Daniel. Av zeh kodesh, shenema moroi chelma Moroi, my Lord, Chelma l'sanach, may the dream be for your enemies, or pishrei l'orecha, and its interpretation be for those that come against you. So he says that this must be referring to Hashem. Because Laman Kama, who could it mean Lord? Ish that he said to Nebuchadnezzar, may your dream be against your enemies. Who's Nebuchadnezzar's enemies? Klal Yisrael. Is he wishing bad to Klal Yisrael? So no say my ninu Yisrael. Mele Kalayat Lul Yisrael is Daniel cursing Yisrael and telling Nebuchadnezzar that his dreams the bad dreams should go against his enemies, Klal Yisrael. So the Gemara says, no, it could be talking about Nebuchadnezzar. The Tanakama Savar, do you think that Nebuchadnezzar only had Jewish enemies? Saini Yisrael, Ika, Saini Avda Kacham Leka, he also had Goyish enemies. So it could be he meant that, king, your bad dreams should go against your Gentile enemies. I think we could stop over here.